So now it's time to introduce my speakers. I'm going to say mine. She just belongs to me. Our speaker spark. And the topic for today is declutter your space to attain spiritual health. Declutter your space for spiritual health. So our speaker, Farnaz Dar, is a former teacher and a homeschooling mom to four boys, and a current owner of an award-winning cleaning and organizing company, and founder. I'm sorry, I had written this all out and I left the papers at home, so I'm reading from my phone. And I know this is like the thing to do today. So it's kind of new for me, so I'm working on this. An award-winning clearing and organizing company, the founder of Chores to Scores. Chores to Scores. Chores to Scores teaches families about the importance of establishing chores for all members of the family, especially children. The benefits for which provide a valuable tool for advancing success in school and beyond. And improved mental health by learning to live. So she says, and improved mental health by learning to live in clutter-free and organized homes. So we'll take a check on that. Am I in a clutter-free and organized home? Okay, check. And Farnaz works with families, teens, and individuals who need a plan, accountability, and guidance to make their home their sanctuary. And I always talked about this space here as being a sanctuary. And so we like to keep it free of clutter best we can. And we used to have a lot more clutter. And it was suggested, maybe you want to clean some of that clutter out. So we listened and we did. So we took action. So let's have a really warm welcome for our speaker spark, Farnaz.
Thank you, Reverend Susan. It is a lovely space, very sanctuary. It has sanctuary energy in it for sure. And good morning to everyone on Zoom and in person. Thank you all for allowing me to come in to speak with you today. Here in PA, we've got a nice fall rainy weekend, and be a lot cozier to just stay in and be under the blankets, but I'm glad you're all here. And thank you all for tuning in. Let me start by asking a question. Are you frustrated? Specifically, are you frustrated perhaps in the way that you worship or pray? Do you find that you can't keep your mind on your prayers for longer than maybe a moment or so before you're flitting off to think of something else? Do you wish that your space could have the peace and tranquility similar to this space here, or something that you see in other homes and things like that? Or do you wish to just be more present in your spirituality? Susan was talking earlier about not feeling the peace. Do you not feel the peace sometimes within your own home? Here's a secret. Where you pray matters. What the environment around you looks like impacts how you pray, what your connection is. If you want to become more focused in your prayer, connect with your spirituality in a more meaningful way, and truly find comfort in your prayer, I invite you to consider your environment and how that plays into your religion, your faith, your spirituality. So I'm going to have to take a hard, truthful look at in ourselves. I'm Muslim and I practice Islam, and there's a beautiful word in Arabic that's called khushu. And what khushu means is the state of mind and the action of the heart that refers to being fully present and humble in front of God when you pray. It's something that when I pray, like everyone else, I've got a million things on my mind. And there's times that I rush through, we pray 5 times a day. I rush through the prayer so I can get on to the next thing. And I physically feel like, that wasn't exactly the best use of that prayer or the best feeling that I got after that prayer. So think about your own home and reflect on how present you're able to be. And how do your surroundings impact that? And it may not be the physical clutter. I think Reverend Susan says, she's like, check, I think I'm good in that department. But 2024, there's a lot of other clutter going around in our lives, right? Our phones are constantly cluttering up our attention. There's thoughts, if you're a busy parent, or if you're, you don't even have to be a busy parent, work. These are all things that fill up our minds and distract our focus from what really, when we really want to be focused on one particular thing, i.e. when we pray. So today, I'm not necessarily going to address the non-physical clutter, the phones and things like that, but really talk about the space that we inhabit and how that works. And I really don't want this to be just me lecturing like this. Feel free to raise your hand and we can chat and things like that. So let me give you a brief, a little bit more information from what Reverend Susan gave. I am the founder of a cleaning and organizing company, and I was a teacher for many years before that. I somehow married my teaching life to the cleaning and organizing company and created Chores to Scores, which truly, when that kind of all came together, it was like the sun rays parted and like it beamed right on me. God was like, this is what you need to talk about. I felt the rays come and I felt like this amazing sense of like purpose and peace. Because the fact of the matter is, we have so much stuff. The things that I have seen being in the cleaning industry will keep me in business for a long time, but more than that, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart that we, and I'm not even saying we as Americans, because I've seen it on the other side of the world too, we just have too much stuff. And it's not your fault. It's not my fault. Whose fault is it? Maybe can we blame society and the capitalist world that we live in? Lots of things to blame. But the fact of the matter is we have the power to control all of that and take charge of our own space. Now you may be wondering, how is this little lady from Pakistani heritage in the cleaning and organizing space? I am the first one to tell you that if you're not a doctor or pharmacist or an engineer in the Pakistani world, you're kind of a failure. And, what are you doing with your life? But as I mentioned to you before, I found purpose in what I talk about. And I feel like it is the gift that I will leave the world. Okay. So when Ken approached me, not Stephen, Ken approached me and asked me to come and speak here. He wanted me to give you a brief history of my background, myself, and then how I kind of meandered into where I am today. So I'll try to be as brief as possible about this to get to the nitty-gritty stuff here. So my parents and I came to this country back in the early 70s. And like all Pakistanis, we landed in Dothan, Alabama. Not at all like all Pakistanis. In fact, my sister was the firstborn foreign child born in the town, but for sure in that hospital, but I'm pretty sure in the town. And as you can imagine, my mom is a young mom, my dad, they're here. He was actually working as a foreman in a construction company in Iran. They brought him over here to settle him down. Challenges, of course, language. How do you navigate grocery stores? Like my mom wasn't even, she went from her family home to the married home, and now we're in Alabama a year later. Lots of things to learn. But one thing that she held on to as they were navigating this new space is their faith and their culture. It was the one thing she could hold on to, along with trying to assimilate and trying to make their way in the US at that time. So wearing Pakistani clothes was a common thing in the house. The only one running around Dothan, Alabama in like the long shirts and the baggy pants and things like that. Holding on to the traditions of what we eat, especially halal meat. Anybody know what halal meat is? Mm-hmm. Halal meat is similar to kosher. It's when the animals are slaughtered in a specific sort of way. They're blessed when they. So I would not go and eat outside in like McDonald's or something like that because the burgers there are not halal. They're not cut and raised in a specific way. So a funny story in our family is that here my parents are in little old Alabama, and my mom realizes, oh, we can't find halal meat around here, so we're just not going to have meat in the house. Now you can imagine that my dad was like, okay, for a minute or two, but then eventually it was like, look, we need some meat in this house, chicken, beef, whatever the case may be. So, as the story goes, my dad took myself and him to a local farm and asked the farmer in his broken English, do you have goats? And I was like, of course I do. Do you want a pet for your daughter? And he's like, no, I want to eat it. And so, long story short, it was funny. We all laughed. They learned how to slaughter the animal themselves and make it halal meat. And dad was all happy, got a big freezer, stock up on halal meat in the house. The point is, faith and tradition was ingrained in us from a very early age. Fast forward a few years, we moved to Atlanta. There was a small community of other Indian, Pakistani Muslims that my parents kind of gravitated to. They're aunties and uncles to me, even to this day. We keep in touch with them. And those were the ones that kind of, bi-weekly, we would have meetings where we all sat together and shared and talked about faith, but talked about other issues that, that they were facing at that time. Now you go to Atlanta and, we're everywhere. We're all over the place. But back in the 70s, it was really slim pickings. And as much as I complained about those bi-weekly meetings that we had to go to every other Friday night, I cherish them now. And I can understand why it was so important for my parents to hold on to that faith and religion. And in hindsight, as the world is so interlocked today and we have exposure to so many different things, it's really great to have the foundation to hold on to. So fast forward even more now. I've become married, children, and I was a teacher for many, many years. Finally decided to open a cleaning and organizing company. Again, very bottom of the list of Pakistani career choices to do. But opened this cleaning and organizing company, and I hold on one second, I just lost my place. I realized a couple of very important things. What I saw over and over again were that people in the world wanted to have a lovely space for their families to be, but just didn't have the time to maintain their spaces, right? Things were pulling them in all directions. Or, here's a big one, I learned that people just did not know how to maintain their spaces, okay? Didn't have the first clue. They had education and they had great careers, but they didn't have the basic information of how to maintain their spaces. And finally, I had people who were so busy kind of comparing themselves to everybody else, they couldn't necessarily afford to keep a cleaning service coming through, but wanted to anyway because their neighbors did. I found that there was a lot of education that needed to be done. And what I found even most disturbing to me was that they weren't teaching their children how to maintain their spaces, maybe because they didn't know how to themselves, right? Growing up, I have a sister and 2 younger brothers. My sister, up to this day, if somebody calls and says, hey, we have 30 people coming over for dinner, she'll be like, okay, no problem. Make everything in the world. I would go in the corner and cry if that were to happen to me. But I can clean the heck out of the house and make sure everybody knows it's all spick and span. We're all given different gifts. But the fact of the matter is, I found it so rewarding to be able to go and provide this nice, clean space to people. I could see physically on their face what a relief it was to them. I remember when I was a teacher in the classroom, you have that immediate gratification. You could see how kids kind of felt and, they did well, and you see it immediately. And with the cleaning and organizing service, you also get that immediate gratification, and that fuels me to keep going. And then when I created Tours to Scores and began talking more openly about the connection between your space and your mental health, that was just like, oh, wow, people need to really talk about this more. Mental health is a big buzzword. We all hear about it, and we all talk about it in relation to our phones and to this and to that. But let's talk about our space. All right. I'd like you, if you will, if I had a projector, I would have put the image up, but that's okay. If you've ever witnessed the pilgrimage to Hajj. You all know about that? The Muslims, they go to Mecca once a year, and there's millions of people who go there, thousands and thousands of people who circle around the black box, right? The Kaaba. When they're circling around that Kaaba, it is like ants all over the place, right? I've had people tell me, wow, that looks like a really stressful situation because you have disorder and chaos, what appears to be. But when the call to prayer comes, everybody lines up. When you have a chance, YouTube it. It's worth seeing, all right? People going to Hajj. They circle in beautiful lines around the Kaaba. It's orderly. And it immediately provokes a sense of calm and a sense of order. That sense of calm and order is what is innate in us as humans. There is something called, there's another Arabic word, I'm going to teach you a couple Arabic words today. There's something called fitra in Arabic. And what that means is humans' natural disposition to things, right? The fitra, religiously, is that there is a natural disposition to believe in the oneness of God. We'll put that aside for now. But there's also this innate feeling of order and calm. Imagine, if you will, we've seen the show Hoarders. There is definitely, illness involved with that, but there's no judgment here at all. But imagine for yourself, or think about how you feel when you watch that show and you see that situation going on, right? There is a little bit of unease. And then how do you feel? And how do those people feel when the house is cleaned up and more organized? There's a sense of calm, a sense of things are the way they're supposed to be. Imagine anytime we flip through magazines and we look through beautiful interior design and things like that. We're not drawn to the ones that are all chaotic. We're drawn to the ones that everything has a place to be and everything is in its place. Okay, this is sort of this is just something innate in us. It's our fitra. And in our faiths, in our different faiths across the world, we all have sort of phrases that pertain to that. Cleanliness is next to godliness, right? It's not just cleanliness in your physical space, of course. It's the thoughts and it's your emotions and all of that other stuff. But it is also about your physical space as well. When you go to Sunday prayer or Sunday service, definitely back in the day, but today also you try to wear your best clothes, your clean clothes, things like that. Like cleanliness plays a factor in there as well. For Muslims, we have an ablution, it's called wudu. We have to wash ourselves in a specific sort of way before we pray. Again, cleanliness coming through as a common thread throughout all of this. And the fact of the matter is, we all deserve a sanctuary space. You mentioned, Reverend Susan mentioned a sanctuary. We all deserve a sanctuary space. And my question to you would be, do you have a sanctuary space within your own home? So Monday through Saturday, when you're not here, do you have a place that is neat and tidy and without things that produce an energy that, we don't, you don't have to be woo-woo, or you don't have to be in the energy space to know that everything has an energy that it exudes, right? And when we are in a space, again, going back to what one of my first questions was, that have all of these things out of place, they exude an energy that distracts us from what we want to focus on. And sometimes that energy could be the basement, or that negative energy could be coming from the garage, or that drawer, or that closet. It doesn't have to be the whole house. But the fact of the matter is, do you have a space that has the positive, welcoming energy that will allow you to connect to your spirituality? And it's very easy in this world, in today's world, when the average American has over 300,000 things in their home. That's an actual fact. And the studies show over and over again that the stress hormone cortisol raises when we are around all of those things. There's not enough study out there, but the study is being done more and more. And it's something to pay attention to. So how do we start tackling this? And hopefully you're convinced that it's worth it. But how do we begin? Of course, it's easy to bring someone in to help you out. But how do you begin on your own with a step-by-step process? When I work with families, I have 5 sort of steps that I offer them, and it varies depending on the individual and the space and so forth. But for me, the first step is always to decide, to make the decision that, you know what, I want this room, this space to be inviting for me in all ways, but especially to connect with my creator. Okay, so making the decision that you are going to not give up. The song that was played had the words "I won't give up," and I was like, scribbled that down. I was like, yes, you want to decide that you won't give up. Today, there's a million ways to make that decision happen, but to write it down, share it with your family members, bring everyone on board to say, guys, we're going to make a decision to make a better change for ourselves, is the first step. The second step that I always tell people is to prioritize. Again, depending on your space and depending how much work needs to be done, it may be super simple, right? It may be just a closet or a room, but for others, it may be a larger amount of space. If it is that larger amount of space, prioritize what space is the most important to you. Is it your bedroom? Is it your living room, your family, whatever? Prioritize. Don't go eating that whole elephant all at once, a bit at a time. And then what happens with that is when you prioritize and you have success with one area, it kind of fuels for the other spaces. Okay. And again, communicating with your family. And if you don't live with anyone else, just affirming it to yourself by writing it down makes a world of difference. Okay. I often tell people, give me a list. What order do you want to go in? And I'll hold you to that. Step 3 is to set the stage. Now, what do I mean by setting the stage? I mean, do you have the tools around you to help declutter? Do you have a place that you know that your things will go? Do you have a thrift store, a charity shop? Where is this stuff going to go? Have that with you. Have a box, have some garbage bags, whatever the case may be. Have a plan is setting the stage by having a plan. All right. Start by horizontal spaces first, keeping them clean and tidy. That could be one option. One option is starting from right to left and seeing the progress as you go along. Have someone there to help you if that is needed. If you can't make all the decisions on your own, that's okay. Ask someone who you trust who can help guide you through that. Inevitably, there's someone who's itching to get in there and help you out with that, right? Okay, a few small tweaks and you can make progress with that. So setting the stage is really important. Setting the stage also is about envisioning what you want that space to look like. Here's the thing. Our homes are some of the most expensive things that we pay for. Think about it, whether you rent or whether you have your own home. It's darn expensive. And by having spaces in our home that we can't utilize because they're full of stuff, it's just we're paying a lot of real estate for those spaces to hold our valuable junk, if you will. So setting the stage to know what needs to be done and tackling that is super important. The next step that I try to share is in communication. Communicating with yourself if you're by yourself, again, writing things down, giving yourself words of affirmation, like family mantras or mantras. Don't put it down, put it away. I'll tell you that particular one. Literally this morning, I was taking my robe off and I was going to just toss it on my bed because I was trying to run out the door. And no, Farnaz, don't put it down, put it away. Okay, but I have to say this to myself literally on a daily basis. The people in your home, teach them that this is what we're going to start saying. Don't leave it clean, leave it serene. Whatever the family mantra is, or the mantra that you want to tell yourself to help you ingrain in your mind that you're going to change this behavior to get yourself in a nicer place. Emphasizing that your home can be your sanctuary. I know we've talked about this before. There's another Arabic word that's really, sometimes words in other languages, English is limiting sometimes. There's a word called sukoon, S-U-K-O-O-N, I guess would be the closest way. Sukoon is this feeling of peace and contentment. This like, when you come home. And you need to ask yourself, do you have that feeling of sukoon, that peace and contentment when you enter your home? Is there a space in your home that allows you that feeling? If there isn't, you deserve a place in your home that allows you that. We're already bombarded, like I mentioned before, with so much noise in the world, so many distractions. If our homes cannot be the place that we can unwind, where will it be? Communicate that with yourself. Self-talk, super important. And finally, patiently practice. Patiently practice the behaviors of putting things where they need to go. Setting systems in place where when you come home, mail's a culprit for a lot of people. Instead of just putting all the mail down, pause for 2 seconds. Buy yourself a beautiful letter opener. I know it's a silly little thing, but there's something so satisfying about a nice letter opener where you slice open that envelope, toss out what you don't need, and just hold on. It makes it an experience. I know it's a silly little thing, but truly try it. It's really great. So patiently practice with your family. If you have young children, patiently practice teaching your kids. Parents, you don't have to do it all by yourself. Get the family involved. Teach them the value of it, the importance of it. If you've ever seen videos of those Chinese kindergartners, they're kicking our butt. I hope that's okay to say. They're kicking our butt in terms of the things that they can do and then the adults that they will become. They're really, really moving ahead. Teach your family members how to maintain their spaces. I think my time is just about up, and I have given you a lot of information. I'm available to speak with you afterwards, and I'm available to chat with you online if you all need to. I believe my information is on the Instagram post at Circle of Miracles. I thank you guys so much for allowing me to dump all this on you, and I look forward to hearing how perhaps a couple words that I've said inspire you to become closer to your maker in your own homes. Thank you. Yeah, I will. Okay.